All right, guys, we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting polynomials. In my opinion, it is a lot faster to do this by hand, but I am focusing on teaching you how to use this calculator, so I am going to use the notes for the calculator, and what I'll do is I'll check it by hand so that at least that way you have the best of both worlds. All right, so it says, number one, copy and paste the entire expression into the Desmal Calculator. Here I have the Desmal Calculator. Copy and paste this entire expression. Now, the biggest thing with using the Desmal Calculator is going to be, of course, that you copy this wrong. So please double check that you are copying exactly what is on your question. All right, now I'm using the keypad to type this, but you can definitely use this online one right here. So let me type that in with this one. So it's parentheses, then it is 2x squared, and you can use this and also make it a squared, minus 11x plus 9. I did that. It says click settings, then table, so you can view the coordinates. Instead of you going to get the coordinates, we can just go ahead and tell the calculator, hey, calculate here, table, right? So now these are my coordinates. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to click on the plus sign on the top left. Okay, on the next line, I'm going to come here and I want to create my own table. Now, when I create my own table, it says copy all the values into your new table. So I'm going to copy these values into my table. So -2, -1. And if you press enter, it'll just give you the rest of them. And then again, these values into the table. All right, once you've copied them into the table, yeah, so if your graph looks like a U or an N, it's a quadratic function. So because I know it's a quadratic function, now this is new to you, so I want to go ahead and just show you the formula real quick. So here is your formula sheet that you are allowed to have. We've covered linear equations or linear formulas. So y equals mx plus b, we've done that a lot. We are going to cover exponential functions, but right now we are on quadratic formulas. So here are your quadratic formulas. You can see there are three forms: standard form, vertex form, factored form. And you have a quadratic formula right here on how to find solutions, and then average rate of change. Okay, so here are your formulas for quadratic formulas. I think you can actually use any of them, but the most popular one, the one that you will see the most, is the standard form. So this very first one, we're going to type that into the calculator. Remember how we typed in y equals mx plus b? Now we're doing the same thing with quadratic. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So let's go ahead and type in exactly what we see here as the formula for this quadratic, right? So I'm going to go and type in, and I can see something is wrong automatically because you see my green dots? They don't line up with these. Like these line up, and this one, the one that has -2, does not line up. And that's because I did what? I made a mistake. It's supposed to be what? 29. So always double check what you're typing, and then a good way to just check is just see if it falls exactly where it needs to be. So all those green dots are on the red dots or on the red line. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and type this in. So we're going to type in y equals ax squared, and remember you can just click that, plus bx plus c. Okay, there's an error. Why? Remember when we typed in y equals mx plus b into the calculator, we changed two things. Okay, what are the two things that we needed to change? Well, first you have to say, hey, calculator, I want you to get these values, these green values, and give me the formula for it, or give me the standard form for it, right? And you can see the green values have x1 and y1. That means everywhere I see a y, I need to type in 1. Everywhere I see an x, so I come to the x, not to the 2, I type in 1. Here's another x right here, type in 1. Okay, cool. I did that. I've told the calculator, look at this table and give me the standard form for this quadratic. Well, it didn't do it. Why? Because there's one more thing the calculator doesn't like, and that's that equal sign. It likes the squiggly line. So you're going to do shift and then under the escape key, or you can click ABC and then it's somewhere here in the middle. Boom. So it's just like what we did before for linear, y equals mx plus b, only now because this is a different function, it's a quadratic, we're using the quadratic version of it. All right, so now we've got my quadratic version. And look, just like it did before, it's given us a value for a value for b, and a value for c, because those are the letters that we have in our standard form for quadratic. So back to our formula. All right, so we've put this in, look at your new table. How is it labeled? Use x1 and y1, use this. Sometimes, remember, I keep saying this, sometimes they change this value. It's very rare, but sometimes they do. So just make sure you're looking at it. Use 2 if they give you 2, 3 if they give you 3. Basically, just whatever number is on your table, make sure you're using that. All right, so rewrite this. So I'm going to be a little lazy here and copy Control C and Control V. And oh, there it is. Okay, long click on it. Long click on it is going to change it. So I just changed it to blue. All right, so I'll put the red one back there. So you see the red, the blue, the green, and long click it. All right, long click it will change it. So let's put it back, and that is now black. And you see they're all over, going over the exact same quadratic, so you know you're fine. So let's go ahead and put in that value. So this is 3. B is -6. Okay, now listen, some of you like to do this. You cannot have two symbols next to each other, right? You got to pick what team you belong to. So this is just -6, and then C is 5. And again, making sure that your answer choice goes over all of these colors. All right, so this is my actual answer. If you wrote it correctly, it will overshadow the existing graph. So this is the answer that I am writing right here. And I am going to check it by hand. So we get 3x squared minus 6x plus 5. Okay, now checking this by hand really quickly. So remember, it's combining like terms, right? X squared plus 2x squared. So 1 apple plus 2 apples is 3 apples. So that one's fine. Then we have 5 apples with x, something with x. Here we go. So 5 apples plus -11 apples. And if you're unsure on how to do that math, you can just really just put it in the calculator. So you have 5 apples, and we're just going to do it without the variable so you can see. 5 apples plus -11 apples. And what is that? -6 apples, which is correct. And then the last one is -4 plus +9. And again, if you're not sure how to do that in your head, you can definitely use the calculator. So it's -4 plus -9. And you can see that -4 plus +9, I apologize. Okay, as soon as you put that in the calculator, you can see that it gives you that +5. So even if you choose to do this by hand, please take your answer and your question and put them into Desmos. And as long as they match up, then you know you did it correct. All right, so example 2 says subtract this from this. Okay, so listen to the sentence I'm going to tell you. I went to the cafeteria from Miss Ainley's room. Where did I start? I went to the cafeteria from Miss Ainley's room. Where did I start? I started at Miss Ainley's room. So even though Miss Ainley's room is second, right? This means subtract this from this means you start with this one. I went to the cafeteria from Miss Ainley's room. I start at Miss Ainley's room. This word from means I start at Miss Ainley's room. So it says subtract this from this, you start at this. All right, so what does that mean? It means you rewrite it here as 3x squared minus 6x plus 3. And because the word is subtract, you're going to subtract. And then you have 2x squared plus 5x minus 2. So sometimes you do have to be careful with the question. I'm going to go ahead and clear my calculator. Please get into the habit of doing this and not just changing the numbers, because you need to practice putting it in. And just like before, I'm going to type it in exactly as I see it. All right, now I should have a quadratic. So I'm going to zoom out or hit the home button real quick. And if that doesn't work, you can just zoom out manually. I have a quadratic, a U or an N, and then I'm going to follow these steps. So I've copied the question, click settings and table so you can view the coordinates. I need to know what the coordinates are so that when I make my own table, click the plus sign on the left and then table to make your own table and copy all the values. So make my own table and I'm copying these values right into the calculator. If you press enter a couple of times, it should just give you the values. And be very careful, because as in the last one, I made a mistake. So just make sure that you are actually typing what it is. Now, again, to change the color, because they're all green for whatever, long click it. I'm going to change that one to purple. I'm going to change this one to black so we can see all these different things. All right, so again, the whole time you're doing this problem, just making sure everything lines up. So you can see all my green dots are on my black dots, right? All my green dots are on my black dots. So I'm good so far. All right, now according to our new formula that we have, all right, we know that in quadratic form, we usually ask for the question in standard form, but again, these are 2 other forms that we could use, but I'm going to just stick to standard form. We're going to type that in. So we're going to type in standard form exactly as it is. And just like we did when we did linear, okay, we're going to change 2 things so the calculator can recognize the answer. So I'm going to look right here real quick. These are sub 1, so I need to make sure everything with a y has a 1. Everything with an x, make sure you're not up there, because if I put a 1 there, that's a 12, right? So please just make sure that you're typing it next to the x. Everything has a 1. And the last thing that I need to change is what? The squiggly line. So you can do shift, and then underneath the equal sign, you can put that there, or you can click ABC and then the squiggly line right there. As soon as that happens, it gives me something. I'm going to change this color. Long press it. Now that I've learned how to do that, I'm going to change it to orange, and you can see the orange is overlapping the green, the black, and the blue. So far I'm good. Now I just need to write down the answer, right? And here's my answer right here. I'm just going to replace A, B, and C. So I'm going to take the original equation, and for lazy purposes, I'm just going to edit one that we've already done. So control and then delete the sub ones, but you have to make sure you delete them, otherwise it looks weird. All right, so now it's red. I don't think I have a red one. Yeah, I don't have a red one. All right, does it match when I replace A with 1? So I'm going to put invisible 1. So I don't actually have to put that 1. So I'm going to put invisible 1. B is what? Negative 11. So I'm going to come to B, negative 11. And again, you cannot have these two symbols. You have to pick one. So a positive and a negative is going to be a negative. And then C is 5. So where you see C, that's 5. And again, making sure red, orange, green, and black are matching. Perfect. So this is my answer that I'm going to write in my notebook. And then we're going to check it by hand really fast. So it was x squared minus 11x plus 5. All right, so let's go ahead and check it. And again, if you were doing this by hand, you would type in the question and the answer. And if they match on top of each other, in other words, you see what the red and the orange is doing. If it goes right on top of each other, you know it's correct. Because again, doing the calculator version is taking a little bit longer. So I want to make sure that I cover also by hand. All right, so let's do it. So we've got 3x squared minus 2x squared. Okay, so we're going to put that in the calculator. 3x squared minus 2x squared, right, is 1. So that one is correct. All right, then we're going to do the second one. So the second one is going to be negative 6 minus positive 5. Negative 6 minus positive 5. So negative 6 minus positive 5. And you should get negative 11, which I do. And then the last one is going to be positive 3 minus negative 2. Positive 3 minus negative 2. And again, just because I already said minus doesn't mean I changed the question. I put exactly what it is. And I should get positive 5, which is correct. So again, should you choose to do this by hand, I completely support that. Just make sure if you do it by hand that you put in the question and the answer in there as well. Okay, so what I want you to do is go ahead and practice this one. All right, whichever version you want to do, you do it in. I need you to double check it because this is what I'm grading. Let's practice.